My name is Dean Takahashi. I'm the lead writer for GamesBeat at VentureBeat, and happy to be the moderator of this session. And I'd like to have everybody sort of just go around and quickly introduce themselves and give a short description of what you guys do and why you're also relevant to this panel. Why don't we start with Sebastian Borget?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm the CEO and co-founder at the Sandbox, which is a gaming virtual world where users, players, and creators can make their own 3D asset and game experience, monetize them through the use of NFTs and blockchain. I'm also the president of the Blockchain Game Alliance, which now is an organization that counts more than 300 members, promoting adoption of blockchain technology within the video game industry.
All right, and David?
Hi everyone, I'm David Moore, co-founder of Known Origin, a digital arts platform that's built on the Ethereum blockchain. We started in 2018, fourth smart contract on OpenSea, so we're quite early to market. Now have a 5,500 strong cohort of artists, super engaged community, and we are pushing innovation in the blockchain space and NFTs.
Great, thank you. And Lin Dai from OneOf?
Yeah, great to be here. So OneOf is the green NFT platform for the music community that was backed by Quincy Jones. We launched earlier this year, has launched collections with Doja Cat and Whitney Houston and tons of other major artists. We are also the official NFT partner of the Grammys for the next 3 years.
And Sam Kim from Metalcore.
Hey Dean, nice to be here with you. I feel like this is a milestone moment for me. I've been waiting to be on a panel with you for 10 years now, and so I finally get to do it. I'm excited to be here, guys. I'm part of the founding team at Metalcore. We are a NFT-based vehicle combat game where we pit up to 50v50 in a PvP mode, and also there's a PvE mode. Really excited about the game that we're launching. We'll have more announcements coming soon about the game. We have a 6-time Hugo Award-winning artist that's leading the design. We have a great development team with years and years of experience working both in AAA and in indie games, and so we'll be bringing this to market in 2022.
Awesome, and I guess everybody knows NFTs have taken off in a big boom this year, and I believe that Chainalysis just had some numbers where they said about $26.9 billion worth of NFTs have been sold this year. I think that's sold and resold as well. But who wants to take a crack at explaining this sort of meteoric rise? Anybody thought about the way to properly explain this, I guess? And I would start with Sebastian again.
No pressure.
All right. I think it's definitely an exciting year when you look at the growth. I was looking at some statistics compiled by Consensus, and it's been increased 60 times the number of unique daily users who are trading NFTs, and 360 times this year the volume of those transaction happening on a daily basis. That's just reflecting, think of the increased hype and engagement of new communities jumping off here, and the broader reach overall of the ecosystem into new market developing countries and the type of application and services behind. We've seen this year the rise of essentially crypto arts around February, March, with a sale of the Beeple piece, followed by the rise of profile picture collection with the Bored Ape, etc. And now I think definitely the rise of gaming NFTs with Axie Infinity, virtual lands led by Sandbox now, and is going to expand beyond here through additional utility. I think that's definitely where the market is trending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and anybody else want to build on what Sebastian said?
Yeah, I'll add to that. So Dean, I mean, we've been building the technology on music NFT for kind of over 3 years, right? It's really this year that everything really started exploding. I think there's a combination of factors. COVID is a big part of this. I mean, certainly everybody's at home and they're looking to connect with different communities, and NFTs actually, when done right, is like really all about communities, right? So, and that coupled with all the central governments overprinting currency, give rise to blockchain and cryptocurrencies in general. So I think those are a couple kind of perfect storm scenarios where we're really allowed NFT, and even physical collectible had a great rise in the last kind of 24 months, right? So so it's kind of a little bit of a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm. Right. And second part of that question, I guess, is interesting as well. And maybe David, you could start with that. Are we currently in a bubble then? We've got a boom that's happening. Are we in a bubble, and how can we tell, I guess? So.
I think we're still feeling out what this space actually is. And I think the more we had a little taste of adoption at the start of the year, in February, March, April, and we had a big spike around the Beeple time and the Sotheby's sale that kind of opened everyone's eyes and got us in. Kind of the mainstream media saw us on Saturday Night Live, and I think CNN were like covering half the marketplaces that were out there. And then, like Sebastian says, you saw the adoption of like Borget, Yacht Club, and then influencers and celebrities started getting into the space. And I think that always is a bit of a signal, good or bad. It's a signal of adoption. But I think you've seen it cool off in the middle part of the year, and then we had another kind of spike. September, October, November, I think OpenSea had their like record-breaking month in September, and then I think 2022 is going to be really interesting. It's either going to we're going to have a big correction, and maybe the NFT space has a bit of a shakedown, and it's like which parts of the NFT space are going to be affected most? Is it going to be the collectible side? Is it going to be the art side? Is it going to be the gaming space? Or are we going to see another January like we saw in 2021, where the year just started at like an incredible rate and it was hard to keep up? And I think a lot of platforms were trying their best just to keep up with demand. So it's hard to tell. I don't think we're in a bubble. I think we're still figuring out what this NFT thing is. And I think we can't get carried away with, if anyone tells you that they're an NFT expert, they're probably like delusional or a charlatan, because we don't know enough about what these things are yet to say we're experts in the field. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what comes next. And I think the gaming space is going to be really cool. Interactive NFTs are going to be really interesting. Things that change over time depending on events or triggers. That's what we can do with digital art. And I think there's way too much we've yet to explore to say that we're in a bubble and it's going to pop, because I think there's going to be new stuff coming. And I think 2022 will definitely shape the next couple of kind of years of what this space will be. And it's either going to go crazy or it's going to quieten down, and people are going to like get down to innovation again. A bit like the end of the ICO phase in 2017. We kind of went through that tough period of 2018, 2019, and everyone just built stuff. I think we could go into another period like that where we just go back to building interesting things. And then
it feels like NFTs may follow the pattern of Bitcoin, where periodically it has these crashes and corrections that look pretty frightening at the time, but then a few months later it's back to a new peak, I guess, and it just keeps on growing. And I think NFTs maybe could follow that kind of pattern too. Every now and then there's a panic, but the general direction is still probably good growth. And I don't know, Sam, do you have a reaction to that? Maybe?
I think like we've kind of seen this playbook before, right? Like when you look at the dawn of like the internet in the late 90s and early 2000s, like the potential for that technology, and then same with NFTs and blockchain, is so tremendous that a lot of money is going to pour in, and some assets are going to get overvalued, without a doubt, just because the potential returns are so high, right? So if you find the next Amazon or eBay, like in the early phases, your the return potential is so high that, you know, there is going to be some money thrown at bad projects or bad NFTs or so forth. It's inevitable. But what I find unique about this is that at the same time, while I see a lot of things that may be categorized as overvalued, there's also a lot of undervalued things because the technology is emerging more rapidly and the use cases are emerging more rapidly. So, you know, I look at things like digital sculptures. I look at some of the gaming assets out there. It's still, you know, there's a lot to be unearthed, and, you know, there's a lot of hidden treasures out there. And I think we're seeing use cases evolve far more quickly than we did in prior kind of like with the internet. Like David was mentioning, like we're actually building today. We're not just sitting on there getting financial rewards. Looks like we lost Dean for a second, but perhaps he'll rejoin us. But I think that's what's important, is that we're seeing these use cases. We're seeing things like Axie, and we're going to see iterations on top of Axie to generate more use cases. We're seeing things like Sandbox, where we're all using all of these things. So do I see a bubble? No, I mean, there's some pockets here and there where we see some frothiness, without a doubt. But ultimately, you know, I love where we're going. I think we're going to see a lot more new and emerging use cases, like David mentioned. You know, things like one of as well. And so I think the future is bright. We may have a few bumps along the road, but I don't anticipate anything too severe.
Yeah, I mean, we can riff on this. You know, I think part of this is also it's a little bit different than 2017, right? So I think each of the project itself, not just the platform, each project on our platform is kind of its own mini ecosystem, its own mini like kind of currency, but it's not a currency, right? So it's its own community, like really values that collection, whether it's kind of a multi-edition thing or it's a like, you know, like 10,000 unique one at once. So I think it's interesting. I don't, you know, like not necessarily, you know, certainly some projects feels very frothy, but not necessarily if one project is start going down, it doesn't necessarily have a systemic effect, right, onto other projects. So also just because like the NFTs, the liquidity is like very different than kind of what we went through in 2017, 2018, right? There's just a lot of holders, right? Like I love my whatever, and I'm just gonna hold it no matter what other people are trading the prices.
I totally agree.
Sorry, you go, Sebastian.
Quick note, and then up to you, Rainy. Something different than what we've seen before is like NFTs are assets that are really can be moved across different applications, and their utility can be different. And that the fact that some projects are adding utility to those NFTs is actually increasing their value over time. If we even take example of art, or if we take example of like profile picture, you might think, all right, those are just initially art and collectible, but in the metaverse, typically with games, with Sandbox, those assets get a new utility. They become characters that you can play with, or become things that you can interact and expose. Hence, people will tend to enjoy having them, hold more of them, and then they are less willing to sell it. If there's a community which is less willing to sell the NFTs they hold, like the value of it is going to increase, while at the same time the demand increase while the supply remains limited. And that's one of the key effects that we're already seeing in place, typically with Axie Infinity, with Sandbox and various collections like Borget in the ecosystem.
And sorry, Rainy, I forgot to introduce you because you had no picture.
That's okay.
Anyway, would you like to do that?
I'll give a quick intro now. I'm Mindspheres. I'm the co-founder of Rainy. We're a cross-chain NFT platform and play-to-earn gaming studio, and we're bringing out a play-to-earn trading card game in Q1 2022. But I was just going to add that I think that you know, I guess a big part of the rise of NFTs is, you know, obviously crypto itself has become much more mainstream, but I think NFTs are something that are very sort of highly relatable to people, as opposed to maybe certain aspects of DeFi that, you know, people might find a bit more impenetrable in terms of, you know, all of the jargon that gets thrown around. And I think that NFTs are something that people can really connect with at an emotional level. And that's why we've seen this emergence of so many communities around different NFT collections. Because I think it's, it sort of harks back to, many people, I'm sure, throughout their lives have collected, whether it be trading cards or anything like, things like that. And I think that has, allowed for a pretty big on-ramp into the space for a lot of people who might have otherwise not really partaken in the whole cryptoverse. So I think that's a pretty interesting aspect of the whole thing.
Here's kind of like an open question for whoever wants to answer first here. I think so. We have crypto collectors, we have crypto gamers, and they seem like a fairly small but very enthusiastic base that has really helped this industry take off this year. I guess the big question is everybody's waiting for the mainstream market and the mainstream gamers to come. Also the big game companies to come into this market as well. And I'm wondering, what your own analysis is of like who is the audience right now, and how do we get to that mainstream?
So when
sorry, you go, Sam. It's okay. Go for it.
Well, so speaking from our side, we're a free-to-play based game that's trying to build upon what kind of actually innovated on with their play-to-earn design. And so for us, I think it's important that we have all kind of types of players. We have what we call the earners, people who are engaging the game in order to earn tokens and sell them and maybe pay their bills, which is often what we see in the Philippines. And then you also have the traditional gamers, kind of the free-to-play guys who, if you think of the free-to-play, I think of it more as like a funnel where it funnels in a large player base. And ultimately, you're trying to get them engaged into the game enough so that they are willing to spend some money on upgrading their assets, etc. Like me personally, I'm not one of those great gamers. I need to spend money in order to keep up with my friends, and I will. I'm a willing spender in a game that I enjoy. And so I think we need to cross the chasm across all three areas, and we're going to see that that's sort of where our focus is in trying to make it a fun, engaging game that people play because they enjoy, but also willing to spend some money, and then balanced with the earners. And so we haven't gotten the guys who are playing for the fun and engagement. So that's why there's a little bit of skepticism out there in the market still. We're seeing that people think that this is a money grab, and instead, what we're actually just trying to do is build upon this great technology and all that it can deliver to the community. And I think once we're able to deliver that kind of a user experience, the gamers will come. Like all the challenges of connecting your wallet and all of that, they'll overcome that. I mean, they run their own servers for crying out loud. Like gamers can figure things out.
We just got to get over that resistance, right? The sort of early resistance here among people who sort of are reminded of things like loot boxes, and they don't want NFTs to take us in that direction again, I guess.
Absolutely, and we have to be careful to make sure that doesn't happen.
I think you really sort of hit the nail on the head there, Sam, in terms of I think up until now, a lot of blockchain games have really not focused on the sort of fun, playable game aspect. They've sort of been proxies for interacting with smart contracts and for speculation more than anything. And I think that bringing, true, I guess, much more of a focus on actual gameplay to the equation is what's required to actually bring mainstream gamers into the space. And, even in our experience, even hiring game developers to work on a blockchain-based game has been challenging. There's a lot of skepticism in that industry in terms of how blockchain-based games are seen. So I think it's something that obviously is changing and maturing. And I think that's definitely the issue.
Yeah, I mean, major companies are entering the space, right? Ubisoft just announced that they're building digits on top of Tezos blockchain, which is also what we mean our music NFTs. But I think it's interesting, we are targeting the mainstream consumer, right? A lot of 80% of our users are the first time they ever bought an NFT, and that, including Doja Cat's fans, right? But imagine the next iteration of that, like their NFT can, maybe we can take that into Sebastian's Sandbox, and Doja Cat can throw like a virtual concert, right? So there's kind of game mechanics that can be iterated for sure.
I'm not sure if we have a
Like
time check because we started too late because of me here. But Sebastian, do you want to take a crack at linking NFTs and blockchain to the metaverse that everybody's talking about? Maybe very.
Sure, of course. Just wanted to add on the previous question briefly, like already Sandbox has more than 1.2 registered wallet. Half of them for the first time created a wallet. So we have that strength to bring on new users through brands, through UGC and through the metaverse. And I think people don't realize like the tip of the iceberg, Ubisoft has been announced. What I'm seeing at the BGA, what I've been hearing at Slush is like every little game company in the world is going to have one product by next year with blockchain and NFTs in it, and that's going to be maximum scale by then. And I don't want to hype, I'm just stating facts here. The where do we lead from there into the metaverse? Like the metaverse is like a broader concept where you also have your identity as an avatar, and you use that identity to play across all different games. You take your asset, you can use them. Oh, we lost Dean again. we can use them across different virtual worlds. You can own also your currency, etc. I do think like the metaverse is really going to be disrupting the overall industry beyond social media, and it's bridging a lot of like those key concepts that we've been touching about already around ownership, around art, around marketplaces, and then about the utility. Like it's connecting people beyond into new, more social, more immersive experiences through those avatars, and then they can play around with their NFTs. They can discover content, they can buy content, they can attend experience, virtual concerts, they can engage into play tours, they can touch with the creator economy and make a new revenue as a creator, as a digital architect, as a fashion designer with Artifact buying Nike buying Artifact or Adidas entering Sandbox typically. So that's definitely a great future in shaping here.
I suppose gaming is going to lead the way, both with NFTs and the metaverse. Although there are some contenders out there with art and music as well, right? But what do you guys think of that? I think that might be our last question, since I'm not sure of exactly how much time we still have to go here. But anyone want to take a crack at gaming leading the way?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think gaming will lead the way, right? So it certainly already is the fastest growing segment compared to other entertainment segment like traditional movie studios or traditional music, because gaming it just is more engaging, right? So but like I think what we like to see is kind of our artists and in music really kind of thinking about the next level of gamification, whether it's metaverse, whether it's actually their NFT working inside a game. So yeah.
Obviously, I'm a little biased in my answer towards this. I mean, I absolutely believe gaming will lead the way, but I think we have to be careful. Like, we have to be careful that
natural way of people, like even without talking about technology, about gaming, like or anything, like we play games to connect with other people. We play games because we want to have fun. We play games and we create. Life is some sort of a game. Like we try to improve, we try to get fun out of it for most of us. And I think like definitely into the metaverse, like gaming is going to bring the core inherent mechanics of like fun, of engagement, of retention that NFT alone as a medium is missing. So that's why, in my opinion, gaming is a natural use case that will keep growing and expanding.
And they did inform me that we do have a time for a few more minutes here, and so I think what I'd like to do is go round and ask for your prediction for 2022 for NFTs, gaming, and the metaverse. So why don't we start with David on that?
More kind of assumptions. Predictions are tricky, so a couple of assumptions from our side. I think wearables and digital fashion could potentially be quite big next year as we zoom out and turn our little circle avatar that you see on social media into online identities. And I think potentially the music industry is gonna wake up to the power of NFTs and blockchain, and I think we might see some big players from the music space move into the NFT community as well. So yeah, digital fashion wearables and music and all things around that kind of encapsulate the community.
Great. Sebastian? Prediction for 2022?
Well, without any surprise, like many game companies launching their product involving NFTs and play to earn, it might take a new form than what we've seen and experienced so far. Competition is great in my opinion. It's going to bring a lot more innovation in the space, and we'll continue to explore the possibilities that true ownership is offering. Virtual land as a second prediction will keep growing. I think it's becoming more and more natural to have like your own home in the metaverse, to build your house, to invite your friend to run your events, and do many more of those things. And keep looking at how do we connect, being part of communities through NFTs, whether we are fan of celebrities, whether we are fan of artists, of creators, or just here by a financial interest as well.
And I forgot your name, Rainy.
Yeah. I mean, I think David and Sebastian touched on many points I would say, but maybe one thing that hasn't been mentioned is probably I think technological advancements in things like VR and AR will, I think, help with maturation of the space as well. I think we're going to see, I think Apple, Google, and Microsoft all working on some pretty interesting AR technology, which I think will play a role in further adoption. And as well as the VR stuff that I know Facebook, Oculus is working on. So I think we'll continue to see people shifting towards more being more comfortable having a digital identity, digital lifestyle. That's already been accelerated by COVID and all the lockdowns and that sort of thing. So yeah, I think very, very interesting future for the space for sure.
And Lynn, 2022.
Yeah, I would say I had to agree with David. Music is going to be big for NFTs in 2022. I think it's going to take the form of both kind of where the metaverse meets the physical verse, right? The omniverse, where a lot of concert experience is going to, when you go, you're going to walk out with a digital collectible. But I think also for music specifically, it's going to move beyond collectibles, right? So there's a lot of work that companies are doing. I think we're at the cusp of really potentially solving royalty using NFT as a potential solution. We're actually, in fact, like OneUp.com, tomorrow on Wednesday, we're actually doing our first compliant music royalty offering via NFT. So I think next year it'll be major change for the music industry in that way.
Awesome. And Sam, you get the last word here.
So I'll say that I agree that with everybody that gaming is going to be huge in 2022, undeniable, I think. But I'll turn it more as what I would like to see in 2022, and that's interoperability. I'd love to see NFT as assets going across projects, across chains, and so whether it's music from Lynn's platform making its way into metalcore, or profile pic of an NFT making its way from let's say the Sevens as an example, as a project that makes its way into my game. Or us working with even somebody that might be considered a competing game, let's say like a Phantom Galaxy from Animoca, like bringing some of their assets into our game and crossing those communities, so that really you have an NFT and it's realizing its potential to have a lot of different ways to engage and interesting use cases across communities, across projects, and even across chains. So that's what I would love to see in 2022. I think we're going to make great strides in that direction. I don't know if we'll actually fully realize that potential in 2022, but I think we're going to see kind of the on-ramp to achieving that in the coming year.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, team.
Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
See you soon again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye now.